Welcome to the Be Ruthless show, where we have the conversations that other people don't, the conversations that other people won't. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and I'm ready to make a lot of noise and disrupt things ruthlessly. Thanks for being here today. Now let's get to it. Welcome back to the Be Ruthless show. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and I'm going to ask you in advance to please bear with me because I just got back from visiting my family for 5 days. So I'm worn out, tired, traveling's exhausting, and I might just be all over the place. So I'm that way anyway, right? On a normal day. Here we are. How is it the last Monday in April if you're listening live? And if you're not, how is it whatever day that it is for you today? I am so grateful to be back here in Colorado. I love my family so much and I miss them dearly. But I stayed in Colorado after losing Jim for a reason, and it's my surroundings, it's this weather, it's nature, it's all of these things. And I tell you what, literally, like minutes, the car ride, just getting back home, it's instantaneous. I feel like me again. I just take a sigh. I can feel my stomach is no longer in knots and my shoulders are less tense. And it's entirely, and if you know what I'm talking about, a physical sensation that can completely come over you when you are where you need to be, when you're just where you belong to be. So I'm so happy to be home. I always miss them, but I really did stay here because this is where I am and where I need to be. And I do believe Jim brought me here for that reason. So it's a funny thing, this world we live in. So I want to talk tonight about relationships, communication, what we say, how we say it, but also who we say it to. I am pretty bold, right? Pretty out there, outspoken. I'm not the type of person who can just keep my feelings in. If something's bothering me, I want to talk about it. But I also think that that's important in relationships, right? It's important to discuss what we're feeling. It's important for communication to be appropriate, to learn healthy ways to express our feelings. And we live in this world where that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. Feelings are uncomfortable for a lot of people. That's what this entire show is about. Having the conversations that other people don't, that they won't, grief, mental illness, but feelings, right? Certain people avoid emotion altogether. Certain people don't like conflict. Certain people believe communication automatically equals conflict. Others just don't like deep conversations. Feelings means we're going to be talking for hours and it's going to be deep. And there's just so many connections and associations that people put with it. So some people go to other people, right? Instead of me talking to you, I could talk to my best friend. And when is that okay? And when is it not? And when is it healthy? And when is it gossip? And how do we navigate these things? I talk about this with my clients as early as possible. I have 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, and there's nothing wrong with leaning on the people in our lives for advice, for support, but there is something wrong with turning to people who can use that information in the wrong way. And there is something wrong if you're turning to people with information when it's not for support, when it's not with good intent. So I want to talk about something that's called triangulation. And I'm not talking about math, but they do that there too. I like math. I don't like triangles when it comes to relationships and when it comes to how people treat one another and how we can manipulate. It's a tactic that people can use to turn one another against each other, to have an edge, to feel a little bit superior. So oftentimes people who feel insecure, have low self-esteem, want to be included, will involve themselves in other people's situations. It all depends on the intent. I go all the time. If I am potentially having a conflict with somebody who I care deeply about, and I am not fixing it on my own, I will absolutely go to someone and say, can I get your input? I have tried this and I have tried this. Do you have another suggestion? Is there anything you can think of that I'm not thinking of? Can you give me an idea? Do you have a perspective that I might not be seeing? Because I can only see things from my eyes. Now, I haven't mentioned anybody's name, right? I'm not saying I'm upset with A. What do you think about A? My brother did this. My sister did this. My mom did this. If the two people know each other, I may talk to my brother, who knows that my mom and I easily butt heads. We always have. And they don't, right? He can communicate with her in a way that I just don't. So, you know, Zach, how can I mend this? Do you have any suggestions? I hurt mom's feelings. I didn't mean to. You know, if I'm doing it in that way, I'm not saying, please be mad at mom with me. This is what happened. And she's the worst mom in the world, right? Or will you talk to mom for me? That's another piece of it. Another large piece of triangulating is having someone else involved who acts as the messenger. Well, part of being a messenger, we all know the telephone game, right? The message gets lost in translation along the way. No one can say my words exactly the way as I will say them. So even if I ask you to tell my mom that my plane lands at 2, something could get lost along the way. No one can say my words the exact same way. So if we have someone unhealthy with malicious intent, a little bit insecure, a little bit gossipy. There's a lot of reasons that it could be jealous. If we're at a workplace, maybe there's some competitiveness. Somebody wants a promotion, right? There can be so many things. I'm listing a few ideas, not all. These are certainly limited, but not all. So I just want people to be aware, to pay attention, what your level of comfort is with communicating. Are you the type that brings something up when it's on your mind? And why does it matter? Because our feelings matter. I don't care that the world says boys shouldn't cry and feelings are a sign of weakness. That's the world's got it backwards. I say this all the time. The world has many things backwards, and many people are conditioned to believe it, and it's not true. Do we have proof that it's true? We have proof. Ask many, many people. Have you? It made you feel better? Yes, I can give you a lineup of people. Let's get some evidence. You, and they're talking to you about someone else. Is it to relationships are complicated enough when there's only two people? That's a straight line. Triangles are three people. The back seat of a car, there used to be conflicts and people racing, and in my high school, and I would just solve that by going to the back. You can sit in the middle of the back seat, and you don't have to feel left out if you scooch a little forward and join in the conversation. I learned that, yeah, it might be a little harder to hear, and it might be, you could choose to feel like you are left out, but I chose to include myself in those situations. And that was a fun way to have three and a triangle. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. I didn't have to feel left out. So how do you want your relationships when there are 3, 4, 5 to be? You get a vote, you get a say. And when somebody comes to you and tries to start anything negative, you get a vote, you get a say, right? We all do. I have people in my world, personally, professionally, at the age of 50. It blows my mind, just like I said that we're at the last Monday in April. I should have outgrown this, but we live in a world where maybe it is somebody's uncomfortable talking about feelings, and maybe it is somebody wants that promotion. In those situations, I really don't care. I stay, I don't want to hear about so-and-so. I really, really, truly will say it's none of my business, or I don't participate in gossip. I really have zero availability for that type of energy in my world. So we have block buttons. We get to choose. If you are like me, I've had serious trauma. I lost my husband. I am 100% intentional all day, every day about what I allow in my life. And there are things that we don't have control over, like weather and, sweating. And, there are plenty of things, traffic, so many things that are 100% out of our control, but we have complete control over what we allow in. We don't, you might have people in your household that have negative energy, but this is where we get to set the boundaries. You can say, I'm not going to participate in this conversation. You can hang up a phone. You can walk out of a room. You can find a way. And this is where the conversation began. That might be difficult for you. How do you speak up? How do you express yourself? How do you say it? Who do you say it to? How do you be you and do it comfortably? I err on the side of too blunt, too bold. I might accidentally put my foot in my mouth. And I work hard on learning from the gentle, the polite, the more tactful all the time. But if somebody is doing something that is testing my boundaries, or absolutely if they are interfering in someone else's, I have zero problem saying no. Will you, what can you do? Can you say, it's past my curfew? We are allowed to say anything. And for me, having that plan ahead of time increases the comfort level, decreases the anxiety. So think about the situations that this is resonating for with you. If someone is coming to mind that you're thinking of, if it's a party that you don't want to be at, if somebody is calling you, talking about someone else, if it is a colleague who is talking about another colleague, plan ahead and think about your way out. Do you have an appointment to get to right after work? You don't have time to stay and talk. If we have our exit plan, our strategy in mind, it's easier to state it. Will you? If that's not going to work, what will? Feel free to reach out, sam@samantharuth.com, chat in the comments, and let's talk about things that will work. I tell people all the time, if these are teenagers, you can say, if we're talking about drinking and drugs, we have a drug test. We can say, and that can be true at work as well. There are so many things that we can use in these situations, but if we are talking about relationships here, if you have somebody who is making you uncomfortable or trying to test the waters between you and someone else, and that's what it is, guys, triangulation, it is coming between you and someone else. It is it is putting you and someone else at odds. And doing that in multiple relationships. People don't do that with just one. That you're not the select, lucky, chosen one. That's a trait, and that happens, and you'll see that pattern. If you see that, if that's making, if you are recognizing that and feeling that way, you don't deserve that. And if you can't think of your exit plan, we can think of one together. Reach out to someone in your world who can help you brainstorm and think of one. That's problem solving, right? Like I talked about. But that's not okay. This is manipulation. It's unhealthy and it causes damage. And relationships matter. So it's what you say and how you say it, but who you say it to. And people who care about us should want our other relationships to also be happy. We shouldn't want to turn people against each other. That's not what people who care about each other want to do. A colleague doesn't want to turn another colleague against you. That's not necessary. Even in sales, there's enough in this world for us all to succeed. We can lift each other up and all work together. I bring people into my world so we can collaborate and rise and shine together. If there are people who are trying to tear you down or tear others in your world down, and this is striking a nerve, please feel free to reach out or talk about it with someone. This is common. It's not talked about enough. And it's not healthy. It's dangerous, it's nasty, and it doesn't have to be okay. It can be subtle, it can be tolerated, and you don't have to. So I wanted to come on, exhaustion and all, and talk about shapes and let you know that triangles are not okay and you don't have to accept them. So you can be like me and you can do it any way you want. It doesn't have to be polite. If you need to get out of something, get out. Stand up for yourself, stand up for someone else. But if you are like my mom wants to save the world and make, keep the peace with everyone, she would struggle in a situation like this and would, need to elbow me under the table or something. And that would work. Kick somebody under the table and let them help you out. That is acceptable, whatever it takes. So I am not, trying to create alarm, but it doesn't have to be life and death for it to be dangerous, folks. People trying to interfere in relationships, that is dangerous. You deserve as many people in your corner cheering you on, and one person trying to take that away from you is one too many. So thank you for being in my corner and being the people cheering me on. Especially in these days, right? Coming home after being with my family that I love and miss so much, and not having Jim here, these are hard days that the world doesn't know or understand about. And, having this and having you guys means the world. So until next time, always be ruthless. Thanks so much for listening today. Your support means everything to me, truly. If this podcast resonates with you, please do me a favor and join in the Ruthless movement by making some noise and doing one of these 4 things. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Tell a friend so we can break stigmas even faster. Leave a review so people can see what you think of the show. And last, if you want to learn more about me and be a part of the Grief Hab community, please head on over to the Facebook group. We'd love to have you. Thanks again for spending your time with us, and see you next week.